Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome here to the Bravo stream. That's mlg.tv/play CEVO-P. Myself, Helium, and over there, that's going to be Launders are taking you through the pregame and the vetoes for Mousesports and Na'Vi.
Yeah, should be an excellent match. Again, this is Mousesports and Na'Vi, who Mousesports ended up qualifying by happenstance because they had to take the place of
G2.
At last, it was G2.
Yeah.
Right. Originally, it was Hellraisers G2 to go head-to-head. Hellraisers were the ones to come out ahead in the round differential. Then G2 took their place because they couldn't make it, and then G2 had the same issue. But Mousesports being here isn't a really big problem. I think they have a great chance to actually get far in this LAN. It's going to start right here in groups, and Na'Vi are probably going to be one of their hardest, if not hardest, competition throughout the entire LAN.
Yeah, definitely. It was kind of a... I mean, if you want to win a tournament, you got to beat everybody. So you can't really say it's a shame they have to come in and play one of the strongest contenders. We just saw Na'Vi get to the semifinals of the major. So you know that they're going to be strong contenders, world-class contenders. Guardian, you know, having practiced, having, you know, run drills, essentially, the equivalent of that in CSGO. For the first time in his career, he did that going into DreamHack, and that wasn't that long. Honestly, feels like it was yesterday because it was actually just a few days ago that these guys have flown over from Romania. They're back here now in Columbus, Ohio. And they are ready to wage war. Maybe rage. We saw some keyboards were punched last time.
That's true.
Some keyboards were punched last night by myself.
Tables shook. Yeah, last night by ourselves when we were landing on the LAN PCs here, warming them up for the players.
So vetoes are coming up pretty soon, so there's definitely a lot to talk about there. We were talking offline earlier about what maps we thought would come out.
Yeah.
And it is a best of 3 again, just to reiterate. Everything here is a best of 3, so we'll have that veto process. Each team banning one map, picking, and then you've got 3 maps left over. 1 will be randomized. So, I mean, looking at the bans, what do you think Na'Vi would want to take away from Mousesports?
Yeah, so from what we looked at in their last 7 matchups, Na'Vi were able to take 4 of them. And Mousesports are only able to take 3, obviously. So I think in terms of map pools, there shouldn't be an edge in terms of who is better on how many maps. The problem is for Mousesports is that Na'Vi have a similar map pool, right?
Yeah.
So I think that Na'Vi might want to bring it to cash, except that Mousesports will also want to bring it to cash. And Overpass is an option. Mirage might be what we expect to see be Mousesports' pick, and I think that it looked like a high chance of Overpass for Na'Vi.
Yeah, I would expect Na'Vi to ban cash. It's like the one point where there isn't.
Is that what I said?
Yeah, I think you got yourself mixed up in your brain a little bit. It's like the one point where there isn't overlap is on cash, and we can see the players there now walking around. And no maps quite banned yet. They're huddled up. That's Nex actually sitting off, still kind of isolated right now. Maybe because I don't know if there's an issue going into the vetoes or not. But I would think Cash would come out because you look at Mousesports, the 2 maps. I mean, Dust 2 and Cash for sure is something they're going to want to play. But I don't think Na'Vi will let them have Cash, so maybe Mousesports goes for Dust 2.
Yeah, no, we thought maybe, even though Na'Vi have pretty good win percentage on Dust 2, that they might ban it versus Cash or versus. There it is, Cash again. They might ban it versus Mousesports because Mousesports are particularly good on Dust 2, and so they could just easily avoid that map, play another map that they both like, but that Na'Vi would have a better chance on. So that's why we kind of formulated that Mirage might be might come up.
And just absolutely expecting Train to be taken away?
Yeah, kind of. I think Mousesports, I know that Gob really wanted to start playing Train a lot more.
But do you want to start against one of the best Train teams in the world?
Well, who knows how much they've been practicing it as of recently. So we're counting only like official map statistics. So like, you know, anything could happen. Eventually it's going to have to be picked and be like a surprising option. But that being said, are they ready for it? Do they need to? Because right now I think that they're not going to have any of their like super favorite maps banned without having another one that they can play. Both these teams have similar map pools again. That's kind of the double-edged sword for both of them here.
So there's Train. Train is gone. That's not a surprise whatsoever. There's maybe another map that Mousesports might want to play. That's Inferno. They were online matches, but the 2 times that these teams have met up online in the last 3 months or last 30 matches it was on Inferno, and Mousesports actually did lose 16-5, but maybe they want to play it. And then there was Mirage where it went into overtime, and Mousesports took it, I think, something like 19-17.
Yeah, 19-16, and it was like 8-7 halves, both halves.
So now just waiting on that ban from Na'Vi. It's definitely a choice between Dust 2 and Cash. Do they want to maybe play to their strengths or really try to take away a strength of Mousesports?
Yeah, I think it's always a good rule of thumb for the veto process to try to ban maps that you're not good at, not ban maps that the other team is good at, because you want to play
so
to
you'd
your
expect
strengths.
the Cash more so by that logic.
Yeah, more so, but then also you want to, the other part of that is that you want to ban a map that you think is going to be chosen by the other team, and I think that there's a high likelihood of a Dusty ban, but at the same time, yeah, Cash could be very likely as well. All the maps left after that, it's kind of like Mouse just at that point only want to avoid Inferno, I think. So as you mentioned, that 16-5 could be a daunting victory. And it was like I want to say it was like 5 rounds straight CT side and then 11-4 half on T side. So pretty dominant performance, and
there's Cash gone.
Yeah, and there it is, Cash. So everything kind of falling into place. I don't think there's any unexpected maps so far. Yeah, we got that Mirage pick right off the bat for Mousesports, and then Overpass. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we might have confused ourselves here in the pregame when we were talking between ourselves, but that's actually exactly what we had thought was going to happen.
Yeah, that's
when we were talking offline. We thought it was going to be Mirage.
Like here we are
the
discussing
pick.
what could possibly change.
Yeah.
But the conclusion that we came to before this.
We should have just started with this.
We should have said this is going to be these are going to be maps of a band.
Certainly looked better.
And yeah, so we do have the picks are exactly as we expected. I assume that it was kind of understood between both teams how the veto process was going to go, barring any surprises in the bans. And the third map, the random map is actually going to be Inferno, which greatly, in my opinion, favors Na'Vi, at least from the
I think so as well.
The small amount of stats that we have seen. But Inferno's just not a map that's played a lot anymore in general, and for a team who really mastered it while it was played a lot and was comfortable contending against top teams like VP, NIP, NV, formerly LDLC on Inferno. I think that Na'Vi still carrying that with them is really strong, because I doubt Mousesports practice it nearly as much. They just don't see it played as many times.
And it seems like the CEVO pick 1 of 3 algorithm actually works, because you'll notice that Cobble was in the map pool still,
Somehow avoided
and
the 99% chance
it wasn't picked.
I think we got a knife.
Yeah. It would have actually been pretty crazy if Dust 2 became that random map, because then you're like, ooh, I mean, you still got to favor Na'Vi, but the maps themselves maybe would favor Mousesports a little bit. They'll certainly have to get the revenge. Those are the 2 maps they played online recently, the Mirage and the Inferno. They won the Mirage, but this time they'll have to, either upset Na'Vi on Overpass, which I don't really see happening, especially with the way that Guardian's been opping now.
Yeah.
But Chris J, right? Then this is where Chris J comes into the conversation.
Yeah.
How was he going to stand up to an opera like Guardian? Because certainly Chris J is able to pull off these amazing plays.
Yeah, he is. I think he'll really shine an Overpass. Like in the last few times that we've seen him play, it's kind of been middle of the pack, because he's had to compete with Nex and Nico. Like at Cluj, it was like Nex had a map where he'd have 30 frags, a few rounds in the second half, and then Nico would have 30 frags in the exact same fashion. And that left Chris, like, how many frags can you get as a team, especially if you're not going to win? And I guess that means that if Chris isn't able to get above 20, between 20 and 30 as an opper, then that might affect their chances of advancing, or at least beating Na'Vi, who, typically you won't see too many head-to-head op duels between top oppers. Like, we like to compare statistics between them, but
they never find each other that often.
Yeah, they never really find each other. Mirage, for example, is a classic mid-to-mid pick, but no one peeks mid without that smoke, and sometimes you don't have a spawn, you're not going to see the other person, so it's very rare overall to see them actually go head-to-head. That's why I think on Overpass there's more of a chance of that, because Chris is going to move around quite a bit.
It's also, honestly, like, you buy the op because you want to start off a round by, looking long sight line and actually finding someone with an AK who can't really fight back as effectively, especially with all the... There's a lot of talk about the first shot accuracy of the AK. Reddit's been buzzing about that. That thread comes up a couple times every month about that. So you want to find those AKs. You don't necessarily, unless you're feeling very confident and just want to get another opper's head, you're never really hunting for the other opper. Maybe on Mirage is different, because you're going to go middle maybe you go A ramp to open it up on the T side, but most of the times you're going to be peeking in the
there's
middle.
definitely a lot of chances for them to actually meet up. And I guess on both these maps, that makes it like the two maps in the entire pool where oppers can most likely go head-to-head. So I'm going to have to retract most of what I meant by what I said, because on these maps specifically, there's a lot of room for CT oppers to to open up around based on their spawn. The spawns are really wide, far apart, and they can result in a mid spawn, a connector spawn, in a palace spawn, a ramp pick spawn, a B app spawn even, and pushing cat is very standard. So there's a lot of places that can happen. So it'll have to come down to some luck.
And then maybe talk about the riflers a little bit. You already kind of talked about Nico and Nex. Nex was, of course, the big star on Mousesports. Now Nico coming along and just dropping bombs. And actually, we got some Mousesports stats to look at while we're talking about them. So let's pull that up. This looks to be their regular season. 4 wins, 3 losses, 3 ties. The regular season was a best-of-2 format, and every map was a point. So that's how they got here. Looking for the efficacy, it's Nico up top and 90.2 average damage per round.
Yeah, I mean, that is really, really insane. Though it seems like Nex is actually just trailing behind with the 89.5. Doesn't pop out at you right away because 90 is a different bracket, but at the same time, that is very, very close in terms of impact on the game. Yeah, Chris is definitely not meeting what you'd expect from someone who has an op in his hands, who can do 100 damage a shot.
Only having 72 ADR.
Only having 72 ADR. It doesn't make a difference. Dennis is even beating him out, and you wouldn't expect much from God being the caller, being the mastermind, and that is repeated over and over again. But it doesn't make it any less true. Your job as an IGL does cloud your ability to be able to focus on what's on your screen, right? Because you're caretaking for the rest of your teammates by looking at the radar very often and constantly making calls. And
then there's Dennis as well. Dennis with 1N.
Yeah, Dennis,
not that we have to contend with 2N Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis, I mean, he's regarded as a support player, but he goes crazy all the time. He does insane pistol rounds. He constantly gets 2 and 3 Ks. He gets a lot of clutch rounds, and he's a very reliable rifler. I mean, he's just he's not a support player in the sense of, in the derogatory sense, where you look at a team and you say, this guy's obviously a support player because he's not fragging. That might not be the case for that person. But it just appears that way because of their fragging potential. And with Dennis, he can really put the numbers up. So I wouldn't say he's a support player so much as he's just getting overshadowed by the amount of stars on the team.
I mean, he certainly has his games. If you look back, it's definitely outside of the 3-month window that we usually kind of keep our analysis to. But when Mousesports first kind of got their roster stabilized back when it was Speedy instead of Nico, and I guess it was Dennis and Speedy kind of thought of the support players. It was Dennis against VP on those combo matches where Mousesports beat VP twice in that tournament, either the spring or summer. I can't remember at this point. But Dennis had some crazy rounds, some clutches from the back of the A site, I recall. So definitely going to be looking forward to seeing Mousesports play here on LAN. But now the other team, we already talked about Guardian, of course, training and looking better than ever. Fallen even had a quote at the major, which was like, it was like awe-inspiring. He's like, Guardian is opping better than anyone and has ever opt in Counter-Strike history.
Wow.
Like, he said that in one of the interviews with Mantrus. So, I mean, that's quite a compliment. And, of course, Luminosity is also here. And they might even have a rematch themselves, Navi and LG.
Yeah, that is going to be a big deal as well. That those two teams are just, you got high hopes for both of them, right? Coming to the last major, Navi making the final, Luminosity getting out of groups is a big deal in itself. There's no easy teams to beat there, and they didn't have an easy. I mean, they beat Fnatic in a best of 1. They beat Cloud9 out. They actually had top seed in their group, so that that's definitely nothing to pass off as a small achievement.
But to talk about the riflers, so we talked about Guardian, of course, a lot. Talk about the riflers on that team. Seized is always a player that's kind of stood out for me. Maybe he doesn't get, I think more he gets talked about now, but
I think he's like the best player on the team besides
yeah,
the Guardian.
Exactly. I think Seized is really, really good. Flamey, of course, has his games, and then Zeus, the IGL. And it's honestly, with a team like Navi, the way they utilize their coach, the way they use Starix, it's almost even worth talking about him. Yeah. He's got a very big impact on that team.
Yeah. I think with Seized, what makes him special, I think Seized plays the same role in Navi that Hiko does in Liquid now. Solo side anchor, he can lurk, and the value in having a solo site means that you're going from a 2-1-2 setup to playing 3-1-1. That's enormous, right? You can hold down the big site with an extra man and know that your guy in the solo site will get 2 kills every round no matter what. That is an insane amount of responsibility, and you have players like Swag, players like Hiko, players like Seized, Get Right. These players being able to do that actually creates so much value on the CT side for a team, and Navi are always getting really, really good CT halves, and it's definitely a large part due to Seized.
Yeah, he's even a bit of an innovator. For instance, you look at Overpass, I call it the Seas Molotov, where you line it up from T-spawn, throw it to land on sandbags, and spam the walls.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Seas came up with that. Maybe that's not quite 100% true, but that's where I learned it from. And now almost everybody uses that Molotov just to lock off that construction control, the squeaky door.
Yeah.
And then Zeus and Flamey, right?
Yeah.
And Edward, of course,
Yeah.
as well.
Edward
Who stands out more, Flamey or Edward for you?
Definitely like Flamey in the sense that like he's younger talent. He's got like incredible HSP. Like every time he plays, just like super precise aim. And Edward to me is kind of like the Neo of the team, who really does still have a lot of big games. You know, he's not really like that old star that just can't play anymore. He really is still extremely good. But in terms of like star potential, I think Flamey is up and coming. Flamey has proved himself time and time again, and always puts up big numbers. Sometimes he just goes absolutely insane. So he's a player to watch for me. I just think C is just because more experience and because he has like that solo site role. But Flamey as an entry fragger is invaluable in the sense that if he does get 2 kills in that round, you win it. So.
Well, hopefully, anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. So it looks like we're having some issues with the teams, getting them into the server, getting them ready to play. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we return, hopefully we'll be doing the flybys on our first map of Mirage. Stay tuned. When I say quick, I mean quick, Launders. Because as soon as we went to a break, the teams were ready to go. I guess that's just how live entertainment happens to be. So it's Mirage coming up. Navi Mousesports here on the Bravo stream at the CEVO MLG Season 8 Pro League Finals.
Yeah, you know, I have high hopes for Mousesports on this map. It's a map that has long distances, really requires good smokes. It has a focus on mid control, and I think that both teams excel in both these areas, and that can create some explosive rounds. So moving into this, I expect a really, really close game. I mean, if I were to go for a pred, I'd say like 16-13. And this is Mouse's pick. I'm going to have to give it to them, 16-13.
All right, so taking into regulation. I mean, obviously the data we have to work off in this matchup went all the way to OT for the 1917 Mousesports taking it.
What about you?
I think Navi are still going to take it.
Yeah.
I'll just reverse it. I'm going to flip-flop. 16-13 the other way. So here on that pistol round, we've got Mousesports heading into Palace and A ramp. 3 members with armor. It's going to be Dennis and Gob B that will have the utility flash, and actually going for an HE. I wonder where that's going to go. That's kind of interesting. You normally expect that smoke, and actually some of them have already been thrown to jungle, but even through that smoke, Guardian bringing down one Flamey before that. Now next, trying to clear out CT. He will do that successfully, taking down Flamey, but Guardian now pushing in and grabbing 2 frags very, very quickly. Dennis fighting for his life, but out in the open and surrounded, he will fall.
Guardian 3 frags for himself, and it was almost because they executed just before the smoke swap. Like, I feel like he had line of sight on Palace for a moment, capitalized on a headshot, and got another couple of kills. Ultimately, like, through and around a smoke. So the fact that Mousesports weren't able to get the bomb down, I think largely in part due to the fact that they executed maybe a little bit too early, I want to say, and ultimately felt that there's some really good shooting. I think a lot of it had to do with muscle memory when you're snapping through that smoke.
Yeah, definitely. These players at this level are just going to know where to shoot, even if the smoke is there. And Guardian trying to get in their heads and click on their heads already at middle peeking window. Takes down next. Here's Zeus just hiding out with the P90. Dennis does find at least 1 kill, but bomb's already down in middle. There's no hope for that economy building round Mousesports was maybe hoping for here. It's just Nico with the deagle and no chance. Guardian with back-to-back 3Ks. To start this match.
Deagle's not economically sound by any means. Like, in most cases, it almost always lets you down, but there are certain situations where it's better than anything else. I mean, it is a 1-bullet headshot from like any distance, and yeah, if you want to go pick mid with a pistol, that is how you do it. And the thing is with Nico is just like he almost always will get a kill with a deagle, even though it's very hard to use. Like his ability to get headshots with that thing is uncanny. So again, like buying a deagle on this round too, that's $1,400 in total. It is a huge investment, but he literally makes it worthwhile basically most of the time.
Yeah, and the deagle on land is a different animal. Actually feels like it has bullets in it. It's quite nice. Already Guardian starting off with another kill. I think that's going to mark 7 for him in just the 3 rounds. Haven't even seen the entirety of this one. Seized, holding a close angle. He's got support down there at the van. Flashbang in. Not the pop flash, but still quite effective. Blinding the 2 men in the front. And now the smoke going down. Going to play right up close so he cannot get flashed. and just hope that they start to push through. Killing a lot of time, already below a minute right now. All right, they'll find seized, and that's Edward helping him out in the window. And he'll be the one to get a frag with that UMP. He takes down Nico. Mousesports just with some upgraded pistols on this round, of course. Seized actually TKing. So it looks like he's got a triple. I'll give him a triple kill for that.
Always got to get 3 kills and beat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they were playing really close to that smoke, had a lot of control. I feel like Mousesports at no point wanted to actually execute, noticing the posturing of Na'Vi, throwing that smoke up there, potentially boosting onto Plat, and I think that made that really, really sketchy for them. And it was just a good setup from Na'Vi to keep them scared that entire round. And once you commit to like a site with 5 people, you don't have options. You can't just like run back across the map and get killed rotating. That's almost a waste of time. But even though they didn't, they still got killed before they were able to get a bomb down. So now we'll go into this round.
Oh, Guardian actually blocked the window smoke. It hit him. I guess he was trying to do that. He was up on the ledge. Edward, though, is going to be the first casualty. He's pushing up 8. He goes down. Guardian changes. No, he was in the window. Another man supporting in the connector. And I don't know. I would assume they're expecting that window to have been smoked, but it's not. Nice play by Guardian. Dennis. He's the front man trying to open up this A site. That's Flamey back there at CT. Zeus coming over to help. He'll go up the stairs, but very blind. And now the smokes are coming down. Mousesports. Oh, that's a massive gap, though. That could be a problem. Flash is going through it. Somehow still alive. And that was Dennis hopping through. Now Flamey with the FAMAS. We'll bring down next. Dennis chiming in, and Guardian going to change his position. He'll let Zeus handle it from here. And on the flank, you've got Seized still with that P90. He's the key man to watch. Chris J takes down Zeus. Nice shot for him, but the lineups and this man's planting. They can't even defend themselves. Seized with a triple spray down.
And absolutely no expression on Edward's face after that round, but what a crazy one from Zeus, who actually managed to get 3 kills on the flank. Everybody was grouped up very nicely for him. Nobody even like checked a ramp, so he really did have just the perfect positional play in that round. It wasn't even timing strike in that situation, just came through and made it happen. And around that, I feel like Na'Vi should have been able to clean up even earlier, because as you mentioned, that jungle smoke was horrible. They did throw it just coming up the A ramp because they were playing contact.
Yeah, it's harder to line up when you're just close.
Yeah, they definitely were just throwing it offhand. And those are the breaks. You kind of throw that smoke at risk of, or for the opportunity to try to catch someone off guard. And again, all grouped up at B behind this really deep smoke, with Na'Vi performing the exact same setup. But will they push for information? Because that can make the difference. I mean, you can have 2 players at B, but if you don't actually try to get information, you are still relying on the sight hold. And that could give Mousesports an advantage if they do just hit 2 quick headshots. They do have half armor.
Yeah, and of course, Zeus keeps the P90 dream alive. So that's on the field. That's always going to be very dangerous. Those SMGs, pretty much their role is to shut down the pistols, the Tech 9 armor. And it looks like a smoke execute. We do see 3 smokes, I think, going out. Now the pop flash for Nico, and they're going to go. That pushes the player off of Van. Nico's blind, but he can't stop. You got to go in anyways. Now getting blind from the CT flashes. Edward's taken down next. Seized has still gone unnoticed, and Edward is very healthy here in the B site. Seized now gets his frag. Will fall, but Edward, nice shooting, and Guardians made his rotation out of the market. He's needed for 1 frag.
You know, I really would have liked to see more explosiveness there from Nels. I mean, I realized they got hit by a nade, but they altogether really didn't get out at the same time. And I think that, you know, if your front guys are up a little bit ahead and your back guys aren't, then maybe you're waiting for your back guys, or maybe your back guys need to be closer to your front guys. But either way, if all of you jump through that window with 40 HP, you might not get a kill, but you come a lot closer than you would in that situation, where it was pretty much a 1 at a time free shot for everybody. And I think that lack of explosiveness is something that they'll think about moving into future rounds.
Yeah, I mean, the initial spacing, like that gap comes from where you need to throw the smokes from, but certainly they should get behind Nico, basically tap him on the shoulder, say throw this flash now, and then they should all have exploded.
And you know, you don't even execute right when the smokes are thrown. You execute when they pop. You do have a moment to actually reorganize. And you know, I do mention that because I think like Mauser at deficit right now, and they lost the round that was pretty sloppy, even though you know, there was a huge flank that got Na'Vi the kills, but you know, Gob always talks about how when Mauser on all cylinders, you really do see that kind of explosiveness and everything just working out because they're playing really quickly. And here, not so much, but Chris, wow, just probably catching a glimpse of Guardian. Yeah,
it looked like Guardian was just watching that smoke bounce, figuring out where it was going to go. So they throw the reverse a connector smokes. Here's Nico entering out of Palace. There is a man below him in shadow who is very, very low. Will Nico check it? He jumps over to safety, then turns to look, finds Flamey, so it's only seized. Looks like Mousesports will limit the damage to 5 rounds in a row, but of course resetting their own losing bonus here. They do plant the bomb, and let's see what seized can do. I mean, probably just wants to save, but I mean, Navi's been winning these rounds fairly convincingly, so we know that they can buy again.
Yeah, no one has ever been surrounded harder than seized in this situation. Every single avenue of exit, there was no chance for him to save that, and Mousesports come away with a round. 5 players alive, and that actually makes it so that this round, no matter what happens, they lose it, they'll have enough money to buy it. So this is the only situation where you wouldn't have one player on a Tech 9 or a complete save going on if you lost the next round. And so because they saved 5 players in that round, they'll have a great opportunity here because there's going to be a lot less pressure on them. And they're coming off a round win, and they'll have the opportunity to get Navi on an eco.
To say Navi's money's broken a little bit. I think it was only Flamey that had a little bit of money working for him, so maybe Navi would go to a force buy situation, or they just won't have to. Guardian starting things off strong. They're aware another man is here. He'll take down Chris J. Guardian with a quick 2. Even try for some spam to find a third. Might have even tagged him. Nico was down to 58, but no, that's in the A side. He takes down Flamey. Zeus is there for the trade. 4-on-2 in favor of Navi. Just another day at the office for them. All right, Gombi gonna get one as Edward tries to push through that smoke, but there's Zeus once again to trade out for his team. Finally, he'll go down to Gombi, who's picked up the bomb. But it looks like he's gonna get, I can't tell on the radar if he's underpass or on the catwalk, but yeah, it's catwalk. So almost getting pinched, but Gombi just breaking on through to the other side in the nick of time. Will come back looking for the frag, but he can't find it.
He hit him in the head.
Yeah, he got dinked through the fence.
Oh, that is so unlucky. He could have actually won that. That would have been a 4K on the round. It would have been basically a 1v4. I mean, we had a player alive, but you know, Gob was just there to trade immediately. So very close round. But again, they're able to buy. I mean, most situations you would consider saving or maybe even just forcing up what you can. But here we do have a full team of rifles and even an op on Chris, who actually did lose kind of a head-to-head battle with Guardian, and not a place where you'd expect it over at B, but you know, as we mentioned,
it's a really close range battle too.
Yeah, very close range, and I think that was a very legitimate chance for Chris to win as well. Not maybe anticipating the repeat of Guardian.
Yeah, I think it was definitely the repeat that caught him off guard there. But I mean, you're already winning 5-1. Your Guardian, I think he's 12-3 in the server right now. He's got that confidence. He's gonna throw some repeats at you. Oh, and eating some nades over at A ramp, especially next in Chris J. Gombi gonna find the entry. He takes down Edward. That's over at the connector, but here it comes next. Also taking down Flamey. It's going to be Zeus in a pivotal position this round. He's got to find that frag. He does. Not taking much damage for it. Does get behind cover. Finds a second. Re-peeking in for the third. Drops the bomb. And Guardian and Seized coming over from, I think, CT and Stairs.
How people do that with the A4, I'll never know. But Zeus, yeah, locking down that spray, getting another 3K on a very critical round. And that one indeed is critical because now Mousesports have to save. I mean, they had 2 chances. You know, this isn't a cat with 9 lives, but 2 of however many they have left are gone, and now Mousesports won't even be able to try and smoke.
Did you just not subtract 2 from 9?
I just didn't bother, yes.
All right. Don't do math live.
Wait, no, that's not even the math I was trying to do. We can talk about it after.
Look at our math straight for map 2. Here's Guardian from the window with 2. These are just pistols here for Mousesports. Looks like they've gone for some pistol upgrades, no armor. There's one dig. Will we find a second? Nearly had Zeus as he was dropping, and well, it's going to be the nade that finishes him off from Guardian.
Yeah, and you know, those rounds are demoralizing because you just lose everything for nothing, and you know, you do get a kill or 2 if you don't expect to win them, and that's what sucks about going into them. You're feeding Navi another round of win bonus on top of the guns that they already have. The fact that they get to have some free extra kills. It's not fun to give away a free eco, knowing that you have to eco and that you have to just go and die. But those are the breaks when you're playing against teams that are at this caliber. They aren't just going to give you those rounds for free. Most of the time, or almost ever. And
does still get one through the floor, I think.
One shot through the floor.
Here's Edward also. Oh, close, but Dennis, having none of that, shoots him down. I thought Edward would have had the advantage there. And now Mousesports does have the advantage. Dennis is low, but he's still alive, so it's a 3-on-2. Flamey with the P90. And I've noticed now V have really been, actually a lot of teams have just been keeping P90s up. It was not completely unheard of in the first place, but it's been happening a lot more often. Here's an Eco getting to the firebox, finds Flamey, now just leaving C's, and we saw C's with that triple spray down on the A site earlier, but he had teammates still causing distractions. Now he's by himself. Nico seems to have a good read on the situation and will hit his shots, so Mousesports finding their second round, and we should remember they are starting on the T side.
Nico is that player that's just so extremely confident. Whatever angle he's holding, it's because he knows that someone will show up. Even when that player isn't there yet, or hasn't turned that corner, or hasn't made that decision, he knows when he makes a decision that this rotator is going to appear here, it's because he's very aware of how his opponent is going to play. And like that round at A-Ramp, he cleared everything out as he walked out of Palace. And Flamey at A-Ramp could have stopped the bomb. Nico might not have cleared it, and he could have just been sitting there holding the site, calling it clear, but instead he was fully aware that there could be someone at A-Ramp, and it was Flamey, and he took care of him. Crucial kills from him.
Yeah, Mousesports, I think, are actually in a case where maybe they couldn't have afforded ops, but it's not like the op was really working, so maybe they just decided to not go for it. It was Nico up on the middle boxes, or the island there, looking over a smoke, trying to cause a bit of a one-way, looking for Guardian, and C's goes down, getting aggressive into that B kitchen. Next, chops him down. And here they will just run in, starting to throw the smokes, one onto the catwalk. One to the market window, and a Molotov and a smoke also to the market exit. Zeus finds Nico. Guardian going for shots through the smoke, not quite connecting. Edward is working his way up cap for the retake. It's a 4-on-4 retake, actually. Zeus and Edward with kits. Waiting for the smokes, and they're pulling back.
Yeah, I mean that's a B site. You lose your only man there, and again, that's what I was talking about with C's. I mean, that's what we discussed. He took an aggressive peek there because he assumed that this round it was going to be either make control, underpass, or A. And he said, you know, I'm going to try to push, get information. He threw a great flash through the smoke, and Next sprayed him down completely blind. So all in all, he had full rights to do that flash and get that kill because Next was completely blind, but at the same time, he came through an angle, which was the only one that Next expected him to be at. So I mean, it was good on both sides, except for the fact that C's was a solo man on the site, and as Mousesports was setting up for a full B and couldn't get a single kill. And the cool thing about Mouse is that they always have, they aren't going to just pug B. You know, they don't just like hit it. They have a really good full execute for B, which is something that's truly uncommon. I mean, good smokes on the site. Some people, you know, think that you don't need full smokes on B. I mean, I'm one of those people. You know, there's very easy ways to take B, and that's where people rush on ecos. But Mouse, you know, will always have a full-out plan, and that's what stopped Navi 4 men deep from trying to retake 4v4.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, there's like, seems like there's two perspectives there. Like, oh, let's just go for it. We're winning 8-2. Why not? We can afford to save. But they're like, no, let's just save here, have rifles again in the next round. We can afford to just lose this one because we're winning 8-2. And it seems like they're starting off well. Gob B taken down. He was legged and then shot again. So count 2 for Guardian. Shots hit. Flamey with the double. Chris J and Dennis falling to him. 3-on-2. Edward needs to get out of the fire. So he lives on 23 over in jungle. There's seized from the, that was Guardian in the connector. He turns to take down Edward. Nice shooting here from Nex.
And he knows exactly where Seized is.
Both of these guys are so low though, 7 and 15 HP. That's one shot anywhere right now.
Wow, going for this plant. And all of a sudden,
the Molotovs.
All of a sudden it's Nex's round to lose. I mean, he has full positional advantage.
And he'll go for the shadow defense off to take the battle if the player runs into the site, but he's hoping to get him crossing and checking other things right now. But he's looking over to the right when C's peeks out. We'll go ahead and get that defuse even without the kit, so Navi winning another.
Oh, yeah. And Nex almost 1v3 wins that round, but instead, Seeds does come away with it because I think he was way too worried about jungle being an option, which it fully was. Seeds simply waited in CT, didn't peek when the bomb got planted, and then waited an extra 10 seconds after the Molotov went out to make it seem like there was another longer rotate in store for Nex, and that's how he outplayed Nex in that situation. Both of them were very low, but I mean, that was a very, very good play by Seeds. Otherwise, this could have been 8-4, which is a really different scoreline in my eyes. And I think as a viewer, like, you feel that way when you see it. And now Mousesports are forcing up anyway behind that plant. Cobb just a smoke and a flash in his hands along with that Tech 9.
Yeah, the two guys we spent quite a bit of time talking about, Guardian and Seized, top ranking for the teams right now. I think Guardian was near 19, Seized the other one in double digits at 10. are only so many people to kill. Here Seized with an A4, has those extra bullets, but next landing hits the entry. Look how low these players on Mousesports are. This is a 3v4, was 3v5, but it seems fairly winnable. Gabi will turn from that flash, and no one even committed behind it. Flamey looking the other way, and Na'Vi content to save again. This will give Mousesports their 4th round, and they get a couple more. I mean, this half certainly started rough, but you went 9-6. Maybe that's not so bad.
Yeah, and you know what's more important, at least from my perspective, is seeing that like Mousesports are keeping composure on rounds that aren't coming across lucky rounds. Also, aren't winning too many rounds in 1v1s, like winning very dominant rounds. Like this round, they kept 4 alive. They've made Na'Vi save where they had 4 alive and Mousesports had 5. Another round, Mousesports. The other round, Mousesports won. They had 5 alive. This round, they had 4 until they lost one to the bomb. But still 3 alive. So these are very solid rounds. And Na'Vi, I think the only reason that they're winning rounds is because Guardian has had so much impact with that op. He's actually gotten like 2 or 3 kills constantly. And is he up to 19?
Yeah, it is 19 and 10.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, sorry. Well, 19. He's 19 and 5. 10 kills and 6 deaths for Seized. So those two combined, one away from 30 right now.
Now, and see, because they actually had to force with Seized, that means that they cannot play that 3-1-1 anymore. They have to have an extra man on Cat. I mean, it's almost his own fault, really. Like, Nex jumped through a smoke. Seized was waiting for him at the perfect angle, and Nex just straight up won the trade.
Dennis hoping that someone will feel confident enough to peek into underpass. Not the case. Zeus just watching it there from the potted plants inside of the A connector. Although looking at that X-ray now, we'll switch over to them. Chris J and Dennis are making their way down here.
You don't want to hold an angle for an op, though.
Yeah, that could be tough for an easy kill. Did he switch to the other side, actually? I didn't quite catch it. Yeah, he did, and he's been spotted. Chris J not going to miss that one. Window smoke will go out.
Oh, good flash.
And I assume they've got something down on connector for themselves as well, or they'd get pinched. They're working their way out. One in Palace. Who's going to find the shots? Next brings down Edward. Guardian with the nade that could do a lot of damage. Takes Chris J to about half, but Dennis and now Gabi both getting frags. They line up for Guardian. He finds 2 right there. I think that was 3 on the round, maybe just the 2. Chris J and Gabi, they don't want to lose a round like this. That smoke's got a bit of a gap in it. Guardian will miss that shot. That would have been demoralizing for Mousesports if they had just died on the cross right there. That would have been the bomb. Now spraying through the box, switches out, does hit Chris J down to 15, who is now cross, and I'm not sure Guardian noticed it through the smoke. Jumps out to the wooden box, a ridiculously quick shot onto Gabi. Now into the 1v1. Guardian, he does have the kit. We talked about op battles. We're going to get one here. It doesn't seem like Guardian's got the information that Chris J is low. He just prefers the op anyway. After all, he is Guardian, but Chris J from connector will take his head off.
What a play from Chris, though. I mean, that was so close from Guardian. He got that insane shot. He did so much damage to the box. He almost hit another player crossing before it was a 1v2 with the bomb down. And getting that collateral as well. Guardian is just on fire right now. But that was a really nice 1v1 from Chris, who actually pushed the CT. He got away from that triple box, which he knew was going to be way too spammable for him to play a 1v1 properly and play the time. And then instead of actually like running through jungle and making a ton of noise, he just jumped out window, took his time and said, if Guardian doesn't fake this bomb, then I lose. And so I'm just going to have to play this, counting on the fact that he will fake it, and he made the right call there. So just totally called him out on that. Guardian could have stuck that bomb and won.
All right, now Na'Vi going into the last round of the first half. We see the 5-7 flash. Probably had some more days to start things off. That's on Zeus. Edward, no armor, mag 7. That's quite a buy-in. You see him there in the back of the B site. Seized with the scout, taking off the head of Nex. Zeus prior to that getting a kill. Here's Chris J and Gabi working into the B site. Seized still holding on. Again, has the scout. Not the best. Oh my gosh. But he still gets beside Gabi. Easy shots for the frag. Here's Nico trying to still save this round, but the FAMAS of Guardian is too strong. Flamey's got eyes on the bomb. And it's Chris J in a 1v2. I think he's got the Tech 9 drawn at the moment. No, he did have the op out. He takes out Flamey. Oh! And there's the Tech 9. The head of Guardian, it disappears, and our half is 9-6 in favor of Na'Vi.
A very different half from 10-5, while Guardian 23-7 too. And so like a lot of these rounds, that Mouse have won, they have had to grind entries. Like they have killed Flamey for free so many times. They have killed Seeds for free so many times, and those are the only rounds they're able to win. This could have been a clean half for Na'Vi if their side anchors just got 1 kill each on those rounds. Could have been so different, but instead, you know, still looking fierce. Mousesports here are clapping.
There's some claps from Nico.
Trying to get themselves psyched up.
He points at the screen. They're like, what are you clapping about?
Now I'm confused.
I'm clapping about this.
Personally. Still clapping. Okay, testing sound, I think.
Oh, no, they're testing TeamSpeak. I thought they were just super hyped.
It's a very different.
Can you clap your mic, Wanders?
We'll just assume they're clapping to psych themselves up, and I think they should.
Maybe it's both.
Wow, look at this.
Maybe it's 2 birds with 1 stone.
No one from. Wait. Oh, the teams are backwards. No one
I was like, wait, what?
From Mousesports have over 10 kills. Everyone is fairly even in the distribution, but no one over 10 kills, and they got 6 rounds. Guardian with 126 ADR. S++ Helium.
S++. I thought we weren't doing that at LAN. We're going to confuse the people. They have no idea.
The FGC will get it.
All right, that'll. I'm okay with that. Yeah, 126 ADR. That's insane. And we were talking when we were looking at the stats for Mousesports, which is not as sincere here on this stat sheet. So that's a bit confusing. But Chris J was at 77 on average for the regular season. Those are the online matches where they didn't actually have to play against Na'Vi or VP since they were invited back from the previous season. But Chris J, he had some nice shots. He had some nice plays. Only 51.5 ADR.
Yeah.
It seems like the statistics for Mousesports don't line up with getting 6 rounds.
No,
right?
not at all. I mean, you got like 3 clutch rounds. It's just
I guess because there were so many saves of 4 or 3 people from Na'Vi.
And that's why like entries are the most important kills of
Exactly.
any round, right? Especially you get it for free. So like, you can trade the entry, but then you can still be susceptible to a retake. In Mousesports' case, they got the entry, they won the round every single time. And so Nico would come out of Palace, kill Flamey. He did that twice. 2 rounds. Next was able to entry Seized. One where Seized flashed into B-apps. One where Seized was on the site, just waiting in the perfect angle. Next able to still get that kill. And many of those rounds, they simply won them exactly how they should have been played out from the point that the entry was had. So with that in mind, you know, Na'Vi will just have to look forward to their next side, which is going to be the T side, and it's not going to be an easy ride for Mouse, not at all.
No, definitely not.
You know, they got a good amount of CT rounds, and they have a really good T side. So,
and it's Mirage, right? I mean, this is the map where Na'Vi has all these smokes, all these innovative takes.
It's like what the map they're famous for, really.
Yeah, exactly.
They have like reinvented the A take at least 3 times since the map has
I hear game
released. And yeah, and we are going to move into the second half.
And they're pretty much the masters of like tempo, right? Like they can go fast, they can take it very, very slow, and you know, when you just have the confidence when you see Na'Vi executing onto a site with 20 seconds left over, as opposed to, you know, some other team.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got going on. 3 Kevlars and a couple smokes on Guardian and C, so it looks like it might be something a bit similar to what Mousesports did as well. And the top is actually backwards, so it's Na'Vi with the 9 rounds moving into this. Nico, of course, that's what Launders is making noises about. He's got that triple kill for himself. Next one in for the dual Berettas. Nico with another on for the ace. Just needs one more frag. Flamey behind the triple box in the sight, and there it is. Nico gets the ace.
Oh my God.
Counter strat that.
What a 2 push down A ramp. The flash is made. Everyone's blind. Their man who pushes down first dies. Nico trades once. Nico gets a second. Nico gets a third. Nico gets 5 kills, all headshots with the USP from that A ramp. And yeah, you really can't analyze that beyond that team just getting absolutely destroyed. So that was just that's a huge round. What an ace.
It is actually a physical limitation to get 5 kills, not headshots with the USB probably.
And not what?
Like, because you don't have enough bullets to kill 5 people if there's not some headshots in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 5 to the body.
You run out of ammo, yeah, for sure.
All right, Zeus with the deagle trying to crouch and continue on clicking, but the bullet's just not landing on Nico, so it's an easy, or really not landing on Nico, not even taking a point of damage right there, and already Na'Vi missing 1, and everyone else very low on life. They're going to take the bomb out of the B tunnels, back to that TV room, and I would assume shift it all the way around through spawn. But here's Nico still out now in the middle, messing with Na'Vi's heads.
He's just too aware. I mean, you can see him just making these plays that are always reactive to when he thinks something is going to happen in time. And I really feel like Nico just sees the game differently from most of his opponents. And there he is with another kill.
I thought he was actually just going to try for another ace here.
Yeah,
he's up to 3 kills.
And it doesn't look like, Navi can get some kills here, but it doesn't look like they're going to get a bomb plant.
No, I mean, if a bomb goes down at this point, someone's made a mistake. There's Chris J throwing that grenade and sees drops. And just pistols, and they actually did do pistols armor, right, with Deagle. So that was a pretty expensive buy-in there in the second round.
Yeah, they did try to force up and win it. I mean, there's a quick way to steal back the momentum. You put the other team on a double save. In this situation, Mousesports come out ahead, only losing 2 members, largely in part due to Nico with those kills. And he's up to 60, and Guardian is still by far
24 and 9 right now.
The most beast player on the server with 24 kills. And now we'll move into this round versus Glocks. Again, another demoralizing round that you just don't want to have to play, because you don't want to have to get it over with. You do want to make the most of it, and you just know that you're like at a disadvantage the entire time.
All right, here's Chris J, finds a headshot onto Edward, peeking out for some no-scopes. That HE as they try to boost, that's going to do a lot of damage. Say goodbye to your boost. Because that grenade taking one of them out, and Gob B finds Guardian. Chris J, another scout shot onto Flamey. We're tied up 9-9. Very important second half pistol. Nico comes out with the ace. They win the subsequent 2 rounds. There we go. And now it's 9-9.
Looking like a nice 16-13 for Mouse at this point, isn't it?
It certainly wasn't when it was like 6-1, but it has shaped up to be quite a match. Yeah, it's going to be close.
It definitely will be. I mean, no matter what happens at this point, yes, the Mouse get a couple more rounds, but that being said, Navi can really just make a team look stupid on their T side, who are playing CT, fairly well. And as long as Mousesports don't let them exploit those weaknesses, they will themselves be able to at least come away with a few rounds. But it is going to be a fight, as you said. So it's an interesting chain smoke as they push up towards Cat. Looks like Edward is going to have the gall to actually just push right through onto Cat. Just hoping that no one is there in connector.
Man, it looks like
Nex is going to have a really bad time.
They are just going up Cat. I thought maybe just going to deposit a player in connector and ladder, but you see the bomb in the apartments and players coming up Cat. So it seems to be that B split. The rotations have come in. Chris J still with the scout. It's the head of Flamey as he tries to cross. Sees another player, gets him low, but can't switch to that Deagle in time. And Dennis with that FAMAS taking out C. So 2-on-2. Both Dennis and Edward are low. So it's a pretty even affair right now. Still 40 seconds on the clock. Edward out in middle, though, strikes Nico. The bomb's down in the site, and it's the one-man Dennis with 8 HP left up to try and defend it. And, ooh, Edward. That's the one battle he maybe could have won, but he doesn't. Edward, triple kill.
That had to be the absolute worst timing there on Cat. Nico checks connector right as C's pushes up, but C's really aware, knowing that he has to try to make this a 2v1 as soon as possible. Otherwise, it'd be too difficult to get a plant in. Do win that round. I mean, Mouse really didn't upgrade very much, so they didn't lose very much at the same time. And now we'll have, a 4 rifle buy with an op. So Chris, doing pretty much 180 damage with the scout last round, now has a much better weapon to even get kills with. And Navi do have the opportunity to put them on a save, however, and sustain this lead.
Yeah, so it looks like Navi just going to be spreading out looking for picks, but it's Chris J who's finding the picks. He'll bring down Guardian, who did just have an AK on this round. You can even see seized with the Galil, so certainly not able to get up to the ops. Nico through the smoke, nearly lining up with Zeus. Flamey's at the connector, and the rest of his team is in the middle. Again, that bomb is still down. They're going back for it now. That sees that has picked it up. Edward, getting one weight, I think, in the smoke. Nico just standing on those steps. Mousesports with a pretty dominant round thus far. Everyone's still alive. 5-on-2. Zeus is pinched. I don't think he saw that player on the catwalk. And is Nico going to get another kill through a smoke here? Let's find out. Seized is making a bit of a distraction there. That'll get Nico maybe panicking a little bit more. Chris J hitting the shot onto Seized, so that threat's taken care of, and now they know exactly where this last man is, and it's a 4 versus 1. Chris J getting another, so warming that op up on the CT side now.
And just taking that mid control. And see, the thing is, we saw Na'Vi there just take mid control and try to bring it back to basically an A hit when you leave a lurker out at mid. You know, someone in connector, someone on cat to try to get a kill to help your split work out. And that's really the best way to take the site. But what we saw there was a remnants of what could have been an A split with only 2 players working against the odds, because in that situation, you know, every player's got to pick up 2 kills to win, or each player's got to pick up at least 2 kills to get the bomb down. That's why they still attempted it. Instead of just sticking together and potentially both getting mowed down, maybe they give themselves an opportunity to shoot someone in the back.
So 2 smokes, poised A with the bomb also in tow. You know what that means. They're really just trying to get the bomb down here on this round. Edward's going to go out first, somehow not taken down. Nico finds Zeus.
There should be a gap in the smoke, yeah.
Yeah, there's always going to be a slight one if you're up on the steps looking over.
No, he just threw it too high. He was just aiming a little bit too high.
But the big thing there is no bomb plant comes out.
Yeah, no bomb plant.
And no one on Mousesports even died. So a massive
nice buffer.
Economy building round for them. And they've got the lead for the first time in this map that they picked.
Yeah, a lead. I mean, the round that they lost was extremely close a couple of rounds ago, not 2v2. Now Na'Vi are going to be forcing. So this is a 2-for-1 round for Mousesports,
which is massive, and it's 3 Galil, so Mousesports certainly have the better weaponry to work with. Still, Na'Vi very keen on this mid control. Zeus finding the opener right now, brings down Nico, big player for Mousesports, of course. There's Dennis evening up at 4-on-4. Zeus shifts over into jungle. Guardian making his way up a ramp right now. Man in sight to die, that was Dennis. Up on ticket, they've heard the op. They know that's Chris J. It's smoked off, but it's Gob B through the smoke that takes down Zeus, or I think the smoke maybe just dissipated. So they got a 2-on-2 right now as Edward is still fighting, and we'll go in through the vent. Trying to group up with Guardian here, I would expect, who is in the A site, but realistically can't get the bomb down. Still trying to take this battle at CT, wins it, doesn't expect the second, so it comes to the 1 versus 1, and peeking out with that AK, it'll be next.
Fully anticipating that split once again. Mousesports edge out a very crucial round. Again, that was a 2-for-1. I mean, we saw Galils on the board. You don't have to look at the money to see that Na'Vi weren't just trying to spend as little money as possible. They were definitely went to the bank for that one, and now we'll have to go back to their smokes and flashes, Tech 9s, and P250s and try to get a bomb plant. Looking really good for Mouse at this point, as that was a crucial round.
And the smokes have not yet been thrown. Well, there's the one onto the catwalk. And there's one into the window. So again, using that utility to get some quick mid control, going for a split over to B. I'm sure Mousesports expecting it at this point. We've seen a lot of splits to this B site from Na'Vi thus far. And Nico just pulls out the USP to get it done, and Zeus dying. Sighing and dying there from his CT model. Or T model, excuse me.
So interesting there how Nico is in the connector, right? And the last 3 rounds in a row, Na'Vi have thrown 3 smokes on cat. They've thrown 1 top cat, 1 in the middle of cat, and then 1 in the window. And then they push through those smokes because that gives them a perfect entrance onto cat, only having to check 1 angle. That's the only time you can do that at mid. It's really interesting how they're throwing those smokes. But Nico knows this. Every single round they've done this. And the previous round, Nico actually had Zeus run up in his face as he was spamming the smoke, and Zeus killed him. So maybe Na'Vi fully expected them or Nico not to be spamming cat this time, because he had to be worried about his bottom of connector. But instead, Nico did the exact same thing. No one faced him connector, and he got 2 kills. He even spammed that USP, as you mentioned, through cat. Those through 2 smokes because he knew that it was going to happen. And I think that's the power of really like a player like Nico, who I constantly praise him, but when you watch him play, it's as if he is playing with X-Ray on. Like he makes a decision. It's very confident. It's based off what he's seen before, and he knows it's going to work.
Yeah, Na'Vi have run it a couple times, right? They've tried it on the rifle rounds. They try it there to maybe just storm into B really fast with the 2-3 split or 3-2, either way.
Yeah.
Trying to get that bomb down for some money coming into the next round. It looks like we do have a pause that I think they said was tactical pause.
Yeah,
You're allowed 1 per regulation.
1 per team.
Yeah,
per regulation.
Per regulation. And
it's 5 minutes total.
And it can last up to 5 minutes. So even if you're winning like 15-2 and someone's got to go to the bathroom, you can even use it for that if you wanted to.
I think that would be a technical pause.
No, I mean, you can use your 5 minutes for what you want to use it to. We don't have that luxury. Can we get a caster pause in here?
Caster pause. Yeah,
back.
Where's the caster pause?
Gotta get a sandwich.
We get no respect.
Need some energy for
Oh, my goodness.
Nav 2. But yeah, definitely some things to talk about for Na'Vi.
One thing that's very important to talk about is when we were playing, every time there was a tactical pause, the other team won the round afterwards. So someone would go on a five round win streak, go on a tactical pause, the other team would win a round.
Yeah, I never realized.
It really is a momentum stealer.
Yeah, it sucks. We were winning like 10-1 last night, and the in-house was testing the systems, making sure all the PCs were working on stage.
16-14.
It's actually really rough when you get paused on. You lose a lot of momentum, and that's something that, I mean, you know, your average player probably hasn't even played on LAN, right? Like, LANs aren't even super popular anymore in terms of just the regular player base. But here we go. Let's see what Na'Vi's going to bring into this. Guardian's got that op, of course. Molotov smokes. Na'Vi were able to afford them, but they're down by 3 rounds right now. Edwards out middle. They've got that control, but they've done it a bit differently. They've just smoked the window. And they've got, it was that seized. Yeah, it is seized up there in the B apartments. Now a smoke into window. That's a second one, actually. I think that was thrown kind of just like off the cuff, though. So that leaves a massive gap. And I think it's Edward that pays the price for it.
Interesting. I mean, you could throw that from top mid like very safely. There's a way to line it up.
Perfectly off those middle boxes. I'm sure there's more than one way.
Yeah.
As Chris J from the catwalk finding one. Got B. He's very low, but as thin as that wall looks, not super spammable. So he's going to save his bullets, try to reposition, and does end up finding him on top of balcony over here at A. It's Dennis. Nico brings down Flame, who's trying to make his way up A ramp, and it's Zeus, the other part of that split for this little limited A take, as it was 3 versus 4. It gets completely shut down. Chris J with 2 there.
I feel like that was pretty sick reaction time from Dennis. Like, you hold that angle up there, and, you know, if someone clears it, you could die. You could die not being able to rack fast enough. I mean, you do have a small advantage peeking into that angle, and he was so quick.
Yeah, that was quick.
Yeah, he was so quick to put him down. So, Mousesports come away 14 rounds now, have earned themselves, are playing the CT side exactly how you need it to go. You win a pistol round, you win the rifle rounds, and when it's all said and done, you look back, half of the rounds in total were save rounds, right? 3 for 1 on the pistol, and every single rifle being a 2 for 1 if you win them in succession. And they have the easiest path to success like this, and actually have a force that they're going up against. Wow, where Nexus gets 3 players on a spray down.
Yeah, they got stuck on that wall that Guardian's by trying to get through the smoke. I don't think even if they had pushed through it would have mattered much. Nex had them all lined up, got it the triple spray down, finds one more for the 4th here. So he's on for the ace if he can find Guardian. But there are a lot of people looking for Guardian right now in Mousesports. There's no way they lose this to a P250 armor. So they're on for match point.
Yeah, I mean, they're on for match point. Guardian just wants to make the round expensive. I mean, he does have the bomb in his hands. It's not going to be much with the P250, but oh, nice shot. Because I don't know if that's a head-to-head with Oppers or not, but Guardian does.
I don't think that counts.
I guess not. And here it is, match point. Mousesports, the definite underdog in this series, on paper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maps won against each other. Na'Vi have a small lead in terms of recent results. Na'Vi look like a strong favorite, and Mousesports about to win their map pick. On a map that Na'Vi aren't half bad at. They are actually really good at this map.
Yeah, it's definitely not their first go-to choice anymore these days, but it was at one point, and they are still good at it. So Mousesports defying some odds right now, and even having started with such a rough start on the T side, you know, they battled for those 6 rounds that they got.
Yeah.
As Chris J kills Edward. Before that, Dennis had got a frag onto Zeus. So Mousesports, a couple of players low, but they have this 5-on-3 defense right now. They've got 3 still on the A site. If nothing else happens there is still a lot of time on the clock, so there may not be any rotations from Mousesports.
Yeah, this is really interesting. And we have Guardian really low, but he has an op and almost could not make a difference. Chris also low, so that almost favors Mousesports in the sense that both their operas aren't very hurt.
Went backwards.
And yeah, we just went not back in time.
Thought we were going out middle, and then we just took it all the way back.
Give him that hope and then take it away. Now sees this lurk up in the connector. 2 players behind him at mid, and I think they just really want to see if C's can make something happen because they just don't have info. They're going up against 5 players. I mean, Mousesports just have to play 3-2 and they win.
They want to see C's shoot. Say that 5 times fast while casting.
I won't.
Yeah, I won't either. That sounds impossible. Chris J with 2, breaking out Guardian, and then Flamey, and that was a sniper battle, right? Guardian had that op. You had talked about it, and it sees now we'll have to do a lot of shooting, and he can't. That's a map 1 winner over to Mousesports, just like that. 16-10. They are a dominant force, and Nico starts them off strong in the second half with the pistol ace, and from there they just pretty much took it away. The 1 round in the second half from Na'Vi.
Yeah, 1 round.
1 round.
1 single round. I mean,
and the only round they won was when they kept the scouts like UMPs and MP9s.
Yeah, it was a strong half. I mean, again, they played it so textbook. They won the pistol, which sometimes you can't do. You can't guarantee a pistol every single time. It's not really about strats all the time, as we just saw. That pistol ace, versus a full A execute. And then you win the first rifle round, you earn yourself a save. You win the second rifle round, you earn yourself another save. And it was just save after save after save. To the point that Na'Vi, I think the only single round that they did win was...
It was the going into the first rifle where Mousesports kept the scout, kept the UMP.
That's right.
And only had a few rifles going into it.
Right.
It was their we're confident, we can maybe win this and then we just keep these again. Our economy is going to be massive at that point. If we lose it, we still have a full buy. They got that full buy, they won. And then they won every single round after that here on Mirage.
That is also, it's a very interesting point that the only round that they did win was one versus just not a great buy. Chris didn't have that op.
And it was still close.
He hit 2 people with scout. He hit 2 people with an op. They're dead. They win the round. So, playing those CT advantages just perfectly. Really good CS so far from Mousesports. And going into Overpass, they're going to feel good. I mean, they will feel good about playing Overpass. The fact that they won their first map. Na'Vi are going to be upset, I think, that they lost the map at all. And but that being said, if we do go to the 3rd map,
it's Inferno. I've got the pin on. Launders, I've got the Inferno pin. What did you got?
Does that make you a Na'Vi fan?
We're off camera right now, but when we're back on, we'll show the pins off, as I'm sure you've all seen them at this point anyways.
Yeah, I've got the victory pin, so no matter what.
Launders is just a winner. It doesn't matter who wins here in this match. The box score is backwards again. Sorry for that. The team headers and at the top bar where it has the rounds progression through the round timeline, that's also flipped. So apologies for that. We'll fix it going into the next series, maybe even by the time we get to the next map. But what are we looking at here? Who's got the biggest ADR? It is Guardian still, because he was, 124.6?
Ooh, wait, how many?
So he dropped off a little bit, still had 20 frags.
Guardian, first half Guardian was 23 kills.
Yes.
Right?
Something close to that.
23, 24. Yeah. So in total, he got, 2, 3, maybe 4 kills in the second half. On T side. Had insane impact on CT side, no doubt about it, but couldn't keep it up. I mean, his ADR dropped by 30 and, barring a few
Chris
frags,
J's went up by 40.
40.
So
almost 50. He's like hitting 100 50. At this point. Yeah, 17 efficacy really did have that impact. And, I guess it was just CT side. That was something to think about because the ops on CT side just had so much impact and they denied every kill that they should have. You hit all your shots and you're on CT side, you have the map advantage. Technically, you should be given all those kills, and he didn't miss once.
Yep, and Nico, I mean, on the main stage, we've got Luminosity versus Titan, so I don't know what's happened there, but Nico very well could have just got the first ace of the tournament in his first game, the first map of the day for these teams, and that was on a big round.
Huge, yeah. I think, so the interesting thing there was, Mousesports and Na'Vi, if you just let them play CT side, could have just gone insane halves. The only rounds that Mousesports won, they won 6, which was crazy in the first place, but they did it because they were able to get so many crucial kills, right? And if not for those crucial kills, or those single crucial kills on all of those rounds, they would have been probably down to, just 2 or 3 T rounds in total, right? I don't even know if there was a round where they didn't have insanely crucial kills. So, with that being said, Na'Vi, even though they were very competent on CT side, Mousesports equally competent and just had no holes.
Yeah, and a lot of people talk about Guardian kind of having to carry Na'Vi a little bit. He's got to have big games if they're going to win against the top teams. You wouldn't really think that would maybe be true against Mousesports, but you can see Guardian didn't have a great second half either, but it definitely got them a ton of kills in the first half. You see now Flamey down there at 8 kills.
Yeah.
I mean, Flamey's one of the big, probably one of the stars here on the team, right? I mean, Season and Flamey are arguing for that number 2 spot.
No, yeah. I mean, Season and Flamey are definitely mad at themselves, because they didn't hold their sights like at a total of 4 rounds without getting a kill. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah, you saw Seas drop in B, Navi saves. Do you think they played too timid in the first half? Like, I was kind of liking seeing that save. Like, we lost the B site. It's a 4-on-4. What can we do?
One round, I think, where Seas flashed through the smoke at B apps, right?
Yes.
He had the perfect flash. He blinded Next fully. Like, Next was blind after he killed Seas. Didn't know he killed Seas. Was blind for at least 2 more seconds, and continued to spray. So you knew that. So Seas had the right play there, and still died. The next round, he's sitting in the site, waiting for someone to jump out window. Next jumps out window. Next gets the kill. So even on so it was like one unlucky circumstance followed by one failed kill, and that can result in 2 rounds. And maybe one of those rounds was a 2 for 1. It's like it just these very, very tiny mistakes or just small failures can really make the difference in professional CS.
Yeah, and it's hard to pinpoint what the butterfly effect of one round would be. Like, if they went for that 4-on retake and won it, what would have happened? If it was just one extra round, well, then it probably wasn't enough because they still only got 1 round in the second half.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
I think they were, definitely right about saving. It definitely looked like they weren't going to get into the site.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's always a chance they could win it, right? It's just very small, for sure.
All right, so I can show off my Inferno pin now. It's very nice. It even matches my shirt, which I was very thrilled about.
All-purpose winner pin right here.
Yeah, so he's a winner.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we'll do, guys, before we hop into the second map, which will be Overpass, the pick of Na'Vi, where, I mean, it's a GSL style, so no one's going home, but in this series, their life is on the line if they drop this to Mousesports. So a big map coming up. Stay tuned here to MLG.tv/PlayCEVO2 for the CEVO MLG Season 8 LAN Finals.